Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online. G'day, I'm Fletch and welcome as I bring you to regional Victoria. Today, it's possibly the largest Lincoln collection in Australia. It's another exclusive coming your way in this week's Classic Restos on the Road. All located near the beautiful Grampians in Victoria, along a beautiful, quiet dirt road. Apparently there's just over 30 Lincolns that await us inside. Some of the most stately shapes and designs over the decades have been collected by this gentleman. But before we go any further, here's a little about the Lincoln Motor Company. Even the brand Lincoln in itself etches a vision of opulence before you even see one. If you were once poor, you didn't buy yourself a new Lincoln. The brand is the upper echelon division of the Ford Motor Company in the United States, marketed among the top luxury vehicle brands. Lincoln was always positioned closely against its General Motors rival, Cadillac. The Lincoln Motor Company was founded in 1917 by Henry M. Leland, naming it after Abraham Lincoln. In February 1922, the company was acquired by Ford, its parent company to this day. Following World War II, Ford formed the Lincoln-Mercury division, pairing Lincoln with its mid-range Mercury brand, and the pairing lasted through to the 2010 closure of Mercury. At the end of 2012, Lincoln reverted to its original name, Lincoln Motor Company. Originally founded as a freestanding division above Lincoln, Continental was integrated within Lincoln in 1959. For 1969, the Continental branded Mark series was marketed through Lincoln, adopting the Lincoln name for 1986. The Lincoln 4-point star emblem is derived from a badge introduced on the 1956 Continental Mark II. The current version has been in place since 1980. There's some 1950s Lincolns here and some others to amaze you, but before I show you that, it's time to meet Jim. Specialising in earth moving, retirement is a dirty word, as Jim always remains busy. Nestled on a glorious 120-acre property and shed space exceeding the size of his home, there's always something to do. Now you see some well-preserved sheds, right? Well, inside is jaw-dropping. Welcome to Lincoln Land.
What do I love about Lincoln? I think it all started with my uncle having one when I was a little kid. He came into town and it was like we were used to old Holdens and stuff like that, and this big Lincoln came into town, so that got me started. I bought a Lincoln when I was 18, maybe 18 and a half. I found an old Lincoln down in Melbourne and it started then, and then I bought a Mark III a bit later. Had a big spell from American cars while I was busy working, and then got back into it in my later life. The Lincoln was always sort of the flagship of the Ford Motor Company, and their quality is exceptional even compared to a lot of GM stuff, you know. So, but over the years, they dropped off a bit in the 70s and 80s, but all the earlier stuff's really well built. I think I've got a big variety of the Lincoln motor car. The earliest is 1922. It was actually pre-Ford. Yeah, well, it was starting at the start there. You come into the first shed and there's a 62 convertible and a 63 sedan, which is in mint condition. Then a couple of Lehman Peterson limousines. One belonged to Jackie Gleason. I got that out of a museum that closed down. And then we go into the next shed with all the 50s cars. There's 4 Continentals there all lined up. a 56, a 50, a 57, a 59, a 53. Then we go into the other shed where all the Mark series are there in a row, from Mark 3 to Mark 8. And on the other side, a lot of the late 60s cars. And then into the last shed where all the old girls are, there's a 48 Cabriolet convertible, 1940 Zephyr, which is technically the first Continental, a 38 Zephyr three-window coupe, which is probably the most expensive car here, and then a 38 big K-series car, and then a 31 K-series car, and then the old 22. Yeah, well, I'm very proud of what we've actually accomplished here, like me and Karen. We do open it up to car clubs because it's getting more and more known, this place. So, but we ask for a donation to the Royal Children's Hospital, and all the money raised throughout the year goes to the Good Friday Royal Children's Hospital appeal.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. In 2024, why not consider a Detroit tour with Fletch? Detroit, the automotive epicenter. It will leave you gobsmacked. Imagine experiencing where automotive history on a grand scale began. Stay in fine accommodation, taking in some of the best museums and private car collections on the planet. Book your 2024 Detroit tour with Fletch. Email fletchtours@mail.com. How are you, Jim?
Good, thanks, Fletch. How are you?
Mate, I'm fantastic. I've got to say I'm blown away. I don't think I've ever seen a collection of Lincolns like this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, it's probably not a lot around in the world in one spot, I guess.
Now, we're in Shed 1. As soon as you walk through the door of Shed 1, this is what you see. We've got a 62, a 63, a 65 and a 68 up the end, which I'll share with you very soon. The 68, belonging to Jackie Gleason, that's an incredible thing to have.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. It's I was lucky enough to grab it, so I did. Yeah.
You can get excited about it at any time, Jim.
Oh, well, I've seen it before, I know.
I just think this is amazing stuff. Out of all the places around the world that Jackie Gleason's stretch Lincoln could have gone, it's here around the Grampians area of regional Victoria, which I think is just very, very cool. Okay, just quickly we'll do a run through. Jim, this 62 here, what's the story on this Continental?
I bought it from a guy in Nevada. It's a pretty well standard sort of a car. He's put disc brakes on it. It's about the only alteration to it. Yeah. Drives beautiful. This
is a very cool car, obviously, two suicide doors as well. Beautiful interior as it left Lincoln back in the time. I like the shape of the dashboard there, very Ford inspired. The ZA, almost ZA Fairlane, a little bit round the instruments.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that Ford Australia copied a lot of American stuff, so yeah, for sure.
Well, that's what I used to love about the Silver Monarchs that we had. For example, a 1977 LTD Silver Monarch, which I had the liberty of owning just for a short period of time back around 1990. One car I wish I'd always kept. Beautiful car. And the LTD standing for?
Lincoln type design. Yeah.
There you go. A lot of the inspiration, the Australian design, coming from the United States.
Exactly, yeah.
We've moved a big distance, probably, 2400, 8 feet in the old term. We've got a 63 here. What a gorgeous car. Story on this one.
This came out of a collection in California. It's in very good condition. It's a beautiful car.
Engine-wise, what are we running 62 and 63?
Same engine, 430. Yeah.
That's the thing with the Americans. They tooled up. They made some subtle changes from year to year, sometimes some big changes. But I guess they were at that point with this style and design in 62 and 63. Where do we go to next?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the 64, the next model along, was slightly longer.
The inside of this car, the upholstery, the interior, original again, just a beautiful, looks like a form of a brocade on the insert there. That's beautiful too.
Yeah, no, they were quite rare with the brocade interior, and it's got an old aftermarket air conditioner in it too. Yeah.
Not that it really matters, but mileage, like this 63 here, how many miles has it done?
I think it's about 45 or something on it like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a lot. But it's in very good condition. Yeah.
It's barely run in when you think about it. I know it's got age, but still, it's just such a low mileage example. What, 40-something thousand miles? What, 65,000 Ks, something like that?
Yeah, not a heap, is it? No.
Now, moving through, we may not do 38 interviews, Jim. I think you're probably a bit worried about that, aren't you?
Just a little, yeah.
All right, just skipping over the 65. What a beautiful car, though, the 65. Just real quick, tell us the deal on the 65.
Yeah, I bought this car off a guy in Florida, and also a 66 coupe that's in another room there. Yeah, yeah. These are very rare. They built 70 a year, and apparently there's about 12 of them left. So.
Oh, goosebumps. Talking of goosebumps, Jackie Gleason Stretch Lincoln. Wow, what do I say here? I love Jackie Gleason, a bit of a fan. Jackie Gleason from the Honeymooners TV series years ago, a whole heap of stage stuff and theatre well before then. And of course, the cop on Smoke and the Bandit, I think, he went out on a high after that role. Very funny man, very funny man. And to think we're looking at his car here. Now, this would have been the car at his private home, Jim?
Yeah, apparently so. He had this and a 69 Stretch limo as well. Yeah, and this was in his home in Florida. Yeah.
Imagine if the rear area could talk.
Oh, I'd hate to think.
And in the back, the crushed velvet. Got a TV set there. Apparently it all still works, And, imagine that. He would have been possibly riding along in it, maybe even watching himself on the little screen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a lovely car.
We've got about a 4 metre long aisleway here, a bit of a hall area, connecting shed 1 to shed 2, and I can see that you've made the most of every bit of space because you've lined both sides of the area with your model cars. These are amazing. How far do these go back?
I've got a big Lincoln collection here. We've got some really old stuff. There's some 20s and right up into modern day, yeah.
I love the way you've done it. One good thing about coming to a place like this, you get ideas. And I know watching at home as well, you'll be the same. Just love the presentation of things, how neat everything is. There's no dust on anything. Everything's nice and clean and clear to see. It's just beautiful. The extra mile you've gone with your glass sliding windows on the front and your shelves, it just looks so fantastic. What would be the oldest model? Can you remember the first model that you ever got?
It'd be one of these presidential set with United States Presidents Lincolns. Yeah, right, okay. Yeah.
Well, we just walked through that big long hallway there, about 4 metres in length, and about 15, 20 million model cars in there. You walk through there into this room here, and off it goes again. A brief rundown. What can we expect to see in here, Jim?
They're all 50s cars here from 1950 to 1959.
All right, we've got a 1950 Lincoln here, for example. How did you come by that one?
Oh, I bought it in the States like most of them, but it's called a baby Lincoln. It's on a Mercury body. Yeah, so it's sort of a Lincoln, but it's a Mercury sort of type thing. Yeah.
Jim, how cool is this room? Like, even getting down here, you've got your 4 chairs there in front of the fireplace. I can just imagine what it's like to sit there on a cool night, fire going, glass of red, cars in the background.
Yeah.
What a great place.
No, it's good fun, Fletch. It really is. We enjoy the space in the wintertime.
Now, the car behind us, a 59, this is stunning. I'm a bit stuck for words on this. Now, this apparently original paint. It's never had paint, right?
Yeah, basically original car, yeah.
Look at the chrome work at the front and look at the chrome work around the rear. What other car was ever made that quite looked like this? They were very individualised, weren't they?
They were actually a bit of a failure in the day.
Elaborate. Well, tell us why.
Oh, the public didn't take to them. No. Yeah.
They had to wait 50 years before they were admired.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, they're quite iconic now, but, yeah, back in the day they were a bit of a failure, yeah.
Look inside this car. The legroom in the back, leather interior, the sweep around die-cast dashboard, beautiful gauges there, sitting in the background of that colossal steering wheel, a fairly thick wheel, just a real robust steering wheel. Like you'd feel like you were driving something.
Yeah, no, it's a substantial car to drive. It's actually bigger than the 59 Cadillac. It doesn't look it, but it is. Yeah, a lot wider and heavier. And
like Dad, I've always been a Ford man. The Falcon Squire wagon was unloved in 1964, but turns heads today. The Americans call them woodies, but the panelling, it's just fiberglass and plastic. But it's a passion that Shannons understands, which is why my Fords are insured with Shannons. And now, so's the home.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride. In 2024, why not consider a Detroit tour with Fletch? Detroit, the automotive epicentre. It will leave you gobsmacked. Imagine experiencing where automotive history on a grand scale began. Stay in fine accommodation, taking in some of the best museums and private car collections on the planet. Book your 2024 Detroit tour with Fletch. Email fletchtours@mail.com. And of course, if you own a classic or two, they just have to be insured with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And keep in mind too that the Shannons Club awaits you. It's easy to sign up to become a member to Australia's largest automotive online hub. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. And just when you think you might be done with one room, no, one room just leads into another. Okay, Jim, we found ourselves another room. What's going on in here?
This is more of the later model stuff. It's on this side, it's the Mark III to the Mark VIII, and on that side, 72, 270s, 60, 69, 68, and 66. Yeah. So there's a little bit happening here. Oh, plus the cars in the middle here are 60. And the 78 limo thing. This one here's only got 6,000 miles on it. It's got original tyres still.
Yeah. What I love about the late 60s cars, early 70s cars is that cars started pretty well getting their act together by this time. They were well powered, they rode beautifully, they were finished nice, they half handled, they had good braking systems. They had a lot of things going for them at that time, didn't they?
No, exactly. 70s cars, but 70s Lincolns really ride beautifully. Yeah.
It's amazing. I really love what you've done here. Even the cabinets with your model cars there, the die-cast model cars, what a sensational collection. We've also, being in the earth-moving game, your bulldozers behind the glass there. I think that's the best collection of bulldozers I think I've ever seen. They look remarkable. So as you make your way around the sheds, this here would be the last door to what I would say into the vintage section of Jim's Lincoln collection. This section here, it's so incredibly stately. It just matches the type of Lincolns that are in here. And don't you just love the big cinema curtain drapes that are just adorning the front of each Lincoln? They're just hanging like as though they're in an old cinema to cover up the roller doors. This is the, as I alluded to earlier, I guess you could say this is the, well, the vintage car section, I guess.
Yeah, 1948 down to 1922.
In here, though, we're back in the realm of back in the time that you were quite successful if you could have afforded any of these cars brand new.
Oh, exactly, yeah. Yeah, these some of these cars would have been worth more than houses back in the day. Yeah.
Jim, 1938 Lincoln Zephyr. Pretty cool sort of a car, this.
Yeah, it's a classic design. Yeah, it won all sorts of Art Deco awards. And, yeah.
And you were saying too that you can buy this shell in fiberglass now for the hot rodders.
Yeah, that's right. Hot rodders love these cars. Yeah.
I can see why.
Yeah, no, really lends himself to a hot rod.
Horsepower for back in the day?
Oh, they're not huge. 160 or 70 horsepower, I think. Yeah, 292 cubic inch engine.
Yeah. But 160 horsepower in 1938.
Yeah, I guess so.
You've got to bear that in mind. Have to think about that for a sec. 1938 and having over 150 horsepower.
Yeah, they run well. Yeah.
What a unique dash in these things. Looks like there's a big vent for the air, goes right down to the floor.
Yeah, they're very unique, really, aren't they?
I just think for a one-piece design, when we look at the profile of this, the side profile and the windswept lines, you know, from that skirting board, even the running board has got shape in it, up to over the rear wheels there, with a spat there, or a wheel cover as they're known in the United States of America. Big white wall tyres. Around the back, the shape, absolutely amazing when you look at the lines and the contour of the back of the car. I love the split rear window. That's character all of its own. And getting back to the interior with that dashboard, it's quite nice. And of course that speedo in the middle going up to 100 miles an hour, Jim.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd do 100, but...
You'd be hanging on, wouldn't you?
I think so, yeah.
See, in the testing grounds, some of the things that they did with these cars back in the day, in the testing grounds, they got up to some phenomenal speeds.
Yeah, apparently so, yeah.
Jim, on that note, I have to thank you so much for taking a whole day out today and letting Classic Restos do a feature on the fine work you've done here. For a guy in his spare time to knock all this together, you've done it incredibly well. I'm speechless when it comes to the cars. Absolutely amazing collection. I love the condition of every car. There's not a rough one here. We're talking a fantastic condition collection here. So, Jim, on that note, it's a credit to you.
Thanks very much, Fletch.
Good on you, mate. Well, you can talk more later if you like, off the camera.
Okay, I will.
You can get excited later if you like. So, cheers, mate.
Thank you.
Well, it's a pretty cool opportunity for Jim to give me a drive of his '59 Continental, but it's a brilliant piece of machinery, I got to say. It's the first time I've actually driven one of these as well. Can't believe is a figure of speech, I suppose, but it's too well used. But the way that this car goes down the road, as straight as a die, quiet, effortless, and continually reminding myself we're talking 1959, so it's just amazing. Isn't it interesting to drive something different as well? You know, we've had Cadillacs on the show, we've had Imperial on the show, some upper echelons, but nothing quite like 59 Lincoln. Something really different for this week's episode of Classic Restos, and I'm sure you'll agree that Jim is incredible, isn't he, with his sheds, his location. Lincoln land is available for car clubs if you want to turn up here. There's a token donation that Jim sends to the Children's Hospital as well, so it's still a cheap day out. Even if you've got to put some money in the bucket when you get here, it's well worth it. But it's up here in the Grampians, in regional Victoria. If you can make a day of it or a weekend of it to come out this way, it's an absolute beautiful part of Victoria, and of course you'll get to see Jim's collection. He's open to phone calls. Catch up with him on social media pages and get in touch. He'd love to see you. On that note, I hope you have really enjoyed this week's episode of Classic Restos, featuring Jim's Lincoln land in the Grampians here in Victoria. So As I always say, until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch. Thanks for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.